Hey guys, this is Alan from Queen Creek Tropicals, and today's topic is why are your bananas not ripening right? If you live in Arizona like I do, the main issue that I have is, well, my flowers usually don't come up until later in the year. And the main reason why that happens is because my plants take damage during the winter and they don't recover usually until closer to the summer. When we get closer to the summer, the temperatures are right, the bananas are big enough to actually start flowering. The problem with that is the flowers are usually sensitive to the sunlight. They're sensitive to the wind. They're sensitive to everything. So unless you give them the ideal conditions, your bananas are not gonna ripen the right way every single time. So let's start with reason number one. Your bananas or your flowers came up too early in the year. If your flowers came up too early in the year, usually what's going to happen is, if you get a late frost, they're going to take frost damage, just like this one right here. If you get flowers early in the year, you know, you're going to get excited, and if you don't get a late frost, then you're good to go. But if you do get a late frost, here in Arizona, sometimes we get a late frost mid-March. These bananas that you see right here, that one right there, and that one right there, they actually flower too early, right at the beginning of March. And well, we had a late freeze and that spoiled a lot of the fruit. So guess what? No fruit for me on these plants. Now, I did get other flowers later on in the season, like in April, like this one right here. And that brings us to reason number two. Banana flowers and the fruit itself is going to be sunlight and heat sensitive. I live in the desert, and here our temperatures in the summer are over 100 degrees every single day. This summer especially, it's been hotter than most summers. We've been 110, 115, even 120 Fahrenheit for weeks on end, while the fruit is trying to ripen. These bananas that you see right here, they actually got sunburn and they spoil. So as you see, I don't have a full rack of bananas. Only a few of them actually ripen okay. And the reason why is because of the sunlight. They're facing the western side of my property. So usually late afternoon, the sun comes through this gap right here and shines on the bananas. There's really not much I can do about it. I guess I could wrap them and that would shade them a little bit. But the problem with wrapping your bananas is when bananas flower, they don't flower at once. It usually happens in stages. So your flower will come out the middle of your banana plant, and as it grows, these leaves right here, they're gonna open up, and then right underneath it, I don't know if you can see, those right there are going to be your bananas. And that happens slowly in stages. It doesn't happen all at once. So it's not really feasible for me to wrap the whole rack of bananas to shade them from the sun, because then, you know, my flowers are not gonna get pollinated. If your flowers don't get pollinated, then you're not gonna get fruit. Each individual banana right here was actually a flower, and each one got pollinated, and that's what actually makes your fruit. So this is another reason why your bananas are not ripening right. It's probably too hot in your area, they got full sun, and they got sunburn, just like this guys right here. So those are not good right there. Reason number three, that could be the wind. So let me walk this way. With bigger bananas, like this one's right here, I have two different varieties. The ones on the left are Goldfinger, and the ones on the right are plantains. Usually late summer here in Arizona, we get what you call monsoons. That is a lot of wind and rain all at once. With taller varieties, what usually happens is they get top heavy. When your banana plants get top heavy and you get a lot of wind, guess what's gonna happen? They are going to snap in half. Like that one right there. That one actually had a flower in it. And well, it's not gonna fully ripen anymore because, well, it broke over there from the wind that we had a few days ago. So that could be another reason why your bananas are not ripening right, because, well, you know, your plant is broken in half. So let's see. Another thing that I see online all the time is you didn't fertilize your plants right. You didn't water them right. To be honest, guys, the only thing that I do with my plants is compost and mulch and water only when dry, even here in the desert. Do you know banana plants actually hold tons of water in their stems, just like cactus? And what happens when you overwater a cactus? It will rot. So the main killer of bananas here in Arizona is actually water. Even in the desert, they need to dry in between watering. But usually if you overwater your plant, they are going to rot at the base, and, well, your fruit's not going to ripen right. So let's see. Let me go ahead and pick the fruit off right here before it spoils any farther. Usually when your bananas are actually fully grown, you can cut it off the plant and let it ripen on the counter. All the bananas that you actually find at the store, they usually picked in green. They picked in green because they're easier to ship. They don't get squished. Then when they get to their destination, they spray them with ethylene gas, which, you know, makes the fruit ripen. But usually the flavor is not all there. So there's nothing like eating your homegrown bananas. This one here, I'm not sure which variety is it. It was gifted to us by a friend of ours, Sophia, about 2 years ago. This plant right here was a small little pup and a sucker. About 2 years ago, I put it in the ground and it flowered within a year and a half. And actually this year we have 4 flowers on it. So let me go ahead and pick the fruit off, so that way it's not gonna spoil any farther. These bananas right here, they're fully grown, so they should be able to ripen just fine on the counter. The way you cut a banana off, usually you want a blade longer than this one, but this is all I got right now. You want to come up to as far as close as possible to the main plant and then just cut it off. Banana plants are actually very soft, and you see all the water squirting out of it? That's all the water that this plant retains inside. And that is the main reason why you have to let your plants dry in between watering. Because if you water them too much, they usually rot very easily. So let me cut this off right here. There we go. So this is 2020's banana harvest. So what I'm gonna do with this, I'm just gonna take it inside, remove all the rotten fruit, and let it ripen. And that's pretty much it. So every year your crop is gonna depend on the environmental conditions around your plant. Not every year we get fruit like this. Even though it's not a full rack of bananas, that's still great for my area. I live in the desert, and here the temperatures are extreme in the summer and cold during the winter. Those are not ideal conditions to actually grow bananas in the millions. You're going to get bananas depending on your microclimate. You may get more, you may get less every year. Every year is going to be different. So like I said, don't worry about it. Let your plants grow. If your banana plants are not growing, they need time to grow. Usually they take about a year for them to fully develop their root system. Once their root system is fully developed, then that's when they're actually gonna grow up. Once your banana plant is fully grown, the last leaf that comes from the middle will be the flower. But the flower will react to the environment around the plant. If it comes out and it's too cold, guess what happens? It's going to fry, and you're not gonna get bananas that year. If the flower comes out in full sun, and usually what I've seen over 100 degrees is the point at the point where they actually start sunburning. If the flower comes up and it's over 100 degrees, direct sun, then your flowers are going to get fried and no bananas for you that year. If the flower comes up and then you get too much wind, guess what? Then usually if you have a taller variety, they're going to break, and then your bananas are not going to be able to fully ripen. So remember, every year is different. Do not get fixated on the fertilizer. Don't worry about the water. Let them dry in between watering, and that is all you need. You don't need special soil. You don't need special anything. To be honest, the only thing I do with my plants is water. I'll let them dry and then water again. How often you water your plant will depend on your soil drainage. Here, my soil is actually clay. It's all clay right here. Nothing special. Look at that. All clay. So this is nothing special, guys. But I know this area right here will drain the water within 24 hours. And that is the only thing that I make sure I did when I planted my banana plant in the ground. Like I said, it took about 1.5 years for the plant to actually start growing, but since 1.5 years or so, you know, it's put out 5 flowers actually. The first one came up last year, too early, too late in the season. It didn't ripen before the winter, so it got froze after the first freeze during the winter. The other 4 came up this year. The first 2, it flowered too early in the year, so the bananas actually, they got frost damage, as you can see there. So those are not good to eat. This one right here got sunburn, part of it, and most of the flowers on the bottom, they didn't get pollinated because, well, you can see they got fried from the sun. I mean, it's over 100 degrees here every single day. That's to be expected. This is not South Florida or any other tropical area where, you know, the temperatures are constant every single year, and there is hardly any cold during the winter. And I have another flower hiding over here in the middle, and this one actually, it's not ready yet. It needs a little more time, but you can see it's actually being shaded by the leaves of the bananas, and there is no sunburn on the upper side, but the bottom side over here, you can see the sun's actually hitting it. So look, all my flowers, they got fried from the sun. You know, I'm not worried about it. Something's better than nothing, and this is just the way it is here in the desert. If you live in an area that is more tropical, then obviously your bananas are gonna fully ripen. They're gonna look nicer than mine, and you know, that's to be expected. Here we get too much sun, too hot, too much wind, so every year is different. Most years actually I don't get fruit, and the main reason why is because, like I said, every year my banana plants take damage in the winter, and they usually don't recover until close to summer. The problem with bananas is the flowers take usually, in my area, between 6 to 8 months to fully ripen. So if your flowers come up late in the season, then they're not going to be fully ripened before the winter hits. That is the main reason that main issue that I have here in my area. But you know what, guys, don't worry about it. Let your plants do what they need to do, and all they need from you is just time. Be patient, and they will be okay. Every year is going to be different, regardless of how much you fertilize them, how much you water them, how much you do anything. You just have to wait. So if your bananas are not ripening right, well, it could be the sun, it could be the temperature, it could be the wind, it could be the rain. Do you know if your flowers come up and it rains, all the pollen is going to get washed off, and then your flowers are not going to get pollinated, so no fruit for you. Yeah, so many different variables that it's extremely hard for me to cover in one single video. But you know what, at least this gives you an idea what's going on with your plant. And yeah, don't worry about it. If you have any questions, comment below, and I'll see you next time.